how to come up with unlimited content to use for social media for physicians. There's a lot of physician coaches out there. So there's a lot of practices out there. There's a lot of online course creators or people that are trying to build their brand so that they can do great things like speak on stage or sell books or reach their audience. And oftentimes it feels like, well, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to create content that's going to engage my audience? And for physicians in particular, this is exceedingly easy. And I want to tell you the reason why and walk through. So I have a formula that I use for creating content. I am a pediatrician. I'm in a practice that I opened in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I find that creating content that engages families as a pediatrician brings new patients into my office every week. And when patients come in, how did you hear about me? Well, I saw your content on Instagram. I saw your post on Facebook, and it made me question what we were doing. It made me realize that there was a different way. So being able to share content that engages your audience is so important to spread your message, to spread good information, get good information out there, because there's certainly lots of not good information out there on the interwebs, and to bring more people into your web, into the people that you serve and that you take care of, that makes your mission possible. Oftentimes physicians struggle with, how do I create content that's interesting and engaging? And it's really easy. Like I said, physicians are in the perfect position to have a really easy to capture unlimited content. And it's simply a matter of, so there's really this formula, there's 4 different steps to it. So the first step that we're going to talk about today is collecting questions. And there's a lot that's been written about questions. And Marcus Sheridan has a book called They Ask, You Answer. And I love that book because it really puts it in perspective. As physicians, we get asked questions all day long. As physicians, we get asked to solve people's problems all day long. And all you have to do is answer their questions. You answer questions all day in your practice. And what that does is it gives you a fantastic source of questions that people are asking. And then all you do is answer them. One of the things that this has done for me is that it's freed me up to spend more time with my patients. And the reason that I say that and the way that it works is, take, for example, the 4-month visit or the 6-month visit with a baby in the office. I say, okay, so now I want to make sure that you guys know about starting solid foods. And, almost every time they say, we saw your video on that, we already started, we know exactly what to do. Oh, well, I guess I don't really need to talk through that. No, we know exactly what to do. We followed your advice. It worked perfect. That saves me time in the exam room to focus on other things that are important, because they've already seen that information. They've already bought into it. And instead of spending 5 minutes talking about starting solid foods, we can spend time talking about something else that's important to them, or just finish up the visit early and make everybody happy. And so what that does is it primes your audience for your message. And all you have to do is answer their questions. You get asked questions all day long, every day. And so all you do is take those questions and you collect them. You collect them somewhere where you can easily sort them and use them when the opportunity presents itself. And in the next steps of the formula, we'll talk about identifying really the why behind the question, and then how to script and structure that to answer the question in a way that leads your audience to feel understood by you, to have their questions answered, and to lean on you as a source of good information when future questions arise. And so what you do is you collect the questions. Now, the easiest thing to do is you have the ultimate question collector right here. You say, hey, SIRI, remind me tonight at 7:30 to write down, how do you start solid foods with a newborn? And then you'll get reminded at that time where you can have the attention to give that the thought and write it down at an appropriate time. You write that information down, and the next time you're looking for content to create, you simply go to that list. You have that list ready for you, and then you sit down and say, this is something that I talk about every day. I know exactly what to say. I could say this script in my sleep, but here's how you start solid food with a newborn. Well, you don't start with a newborn. You start it between 4 and 6 months of age, and what you do is and you just go through those things, and it makes it so easy to have content that parents or audience members, that the people that you're trying to engage with, they are already asking. And so the first step is to collect questions. Whatever system is easiest, but have a system so that you can have questions. You can get more complicated as you go. If you look at my content that I create for, if you look on my Instagram at Phil Boucher, MD, you'll see what I put out in terms of answering questions. I have a little white box that people submit their questions to. I just put that white box on the screen. It shows their question. I answer it. People that are scrolling through will see that question. They'll stop and they'll listen, and then they'll, share it with their friends or become, more trusting of me and my message because they've seen the social proof that comes with answering people's questions. Collect their questions. And then the next thing to do is to identify the why. Why are they asking that question? And it seems like, well, they're asking because they want the answer. But usually there's a deeper reason as to why they're actually asking that question. Oftentimes, there's really three places that it comes from when it comes to why are they asking the question. First is fear, and they're all basically fear-based questions. The second is uncertainty, which along with fear is I'm not sure about this, I'm worried about this, versus I'm not sure about this, or I don't know what to think about this. And then the third one, I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit, would be conflicting information. I've heard conflicting information about this. I've seen posts that say this, and I've seen other doctors that say this. I don't know who to believe. So that's really the first step in this unlimited content formula that you're going to go through is you collect questions and then you try and understand the why behind the questions. Tomorrow, I'm going to do another live where we talk through what to do once you've gathered those questions and you've identified the why, because that's going to make it easy to script out what you're actually going to say so that when you go to actually record it, you can speak very eloquently about it. And here's an example. And the reason that you have to give a little thought to this is this video has been going on for 7 minutes now. Most content that is actually going to engage your audience is much shorter. We're talking less than 60 seconds. Instagram in particular, you have to keep your video under 60 seconds for Reels, which is the highest reach at the moment, and probably for the foreseeable future is Reels on Instagram. So you have to say everything that you're going to say in 60 seconds, which sounds like a lot of time, but it's not when you have to convince somebody that that you have something to say about it, that you're an expert about it, say it, make sure they understand it, and then give them the next step. But it's very easy to do once you do that. So I'm just going to take that example that I gave here and end with that. So if I had 60 seconds and the question had been, how do I start solid foods? So what you would do is you'd say, it's a common question that parents have about when to start solid foods. And there's a lot of conflicting information out there, and your sister-in-law is saying one thing and the internet is telling you another thing, and you're just not sure who to believe. Well, I know as a pediatrician that I get to talk with a lot of parents about this. And here's the three things that I look for in terms of starting solid food. One, you want to make sure that they have adequate head and neck control, that they can sit up in their seat or on your lap without just kind of like falling over. And then two, they have adequate interest in it, meaning they watch you while you're eating. And once you do that, blah, 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 blah. And I could go on from there for another 15 seconds of explaining to them, how to start solid foods, how to know if your baby is ready. And then I could end with, so if you have more questions or concerns, make sure and, comment below. What are your questions about starting solid foods? And I can answer them in a future video. Done. Under 60 seconds, got all the information to them, made them feel understood, made them feel heard by identifying the question and identifying the why behind the question, which is multiple degrees of uncertainty, conflicting information, and then probably fear about choking are the three that would go along with that. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that helps to inspire you and to realize that as somebody that is a physician coach, a physician online course creator, a practice owner, a practice manager, somebody in that position, there's a lot of questions that people have out there, and you are in the perfect position to answer their questions. And once you do so, you gain trust, you gain authority, and eventually, they decide, hey, I want to come see this person because they keep answering my questions and making me feel understood. Hopefully that's helped. Keep up the good work.